Welcome to Mic'd and Medicated. We have Flavia Masson back on the couch with us. And
that was a better pronunciation than last time.
Thank you. And we could not be more excited. Welcome, Flavia.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
How do we say in Italian welcome? I only know how to say how much.
Benvenuta.
Benvenuta. In Italian, I go, quanta questa?
Benvenuta, Flavia.
Grazie.
We say it again?
Benvenuta.
Benvenuta. How you say it, Eva?
Benvenuta.
Oh, not so bad.
Thank you.
You sound like the flight attendant when you land who's American, who has to do it. They're like, welcome to Italy. Benvenuto, Italia. Okay.
So we are going to be talking about a very hot topic today. Can women have it all?
Can women have it all? What do you think?
Not at the same time.
Not at the same time.
Well, I think it's really interesting because I remember being in the audience hearing Marianne Slaughter speak about the myth of having it all and the fact that women cannot have it all at once. And I think even that's a stretch, like, because there's so many trade-offs. So you have your career first, but then there's a bunch of trade-offs when you're trying to have kids later in life.
I kind of disagree with the have your career first mentality. I think if you, as a woman, you have to be honest with yourself, your body, and other women.
I think it's, you know what? Life is not a buffet. It's a fixed menu. If you pick the fish, you're not going to get the chicken. Like, you need to know what you want.
Amen.
And you have to have a plan. I think, obviously life never goes as planned, but it's important to have a clear idea of what your priorities are.
I actually think that's a brilliant analogy. And I've never heard that. And I think it's so poignant because you can't go in blindly in life. You know, I mean, if your dream was to have a white picket fence and, meet your Prince Charming and have children and be a traditional wife, which is called a trad wife, then you need to prioritize that in your early 20s. You can't try to be partner at a law firm at the same time because your eggs are ticking,
Right. But what I was saying is that exactly what you said. It's a fixed menu in that you can't really have it all, just not all at once, because the same things aren't available at every stage of your life.
Because it's not a buffet and you'll vomit if you eat it all. Right? I mean, you'll fucking vomit and be fat and disgusting. Who wants to be that? Have a fixed menu. Put your napkin on your lap, For God's sakes, we're civilized people here.
I would say I hate buffets.
But
nobody hates it more than my father because it's so, he won't. Actually, I just interject with one story that's off topic because that's what I like to do. I think I've told this before, but my dad, who never eats pork, there was a buffet where everything was touched except for the meat under the light. And it was a pig. It was pork. So he's so afraid of germs that he ate the pig. It's the only thing no one touched. Anyway, let's go talk about the real conversation. Eva, can you bring us back?
I can bring us back. No, I think what's really interesting is both of you are saying definitively that women need to be clear about what they want and they need to know what the trade-offs are and go in eyes wide open and stay focused on their goals. But I think that that's a luxury and/or a fantasy and/or exceptional in that most people meander. They don't know exactly what they want. And I think no matter what you do, whether you end up having this huge career and then you're figuring out how to have a family, or whether you have kids and then want to get into the career world, or whether you choose not to have kids, or whether you're doing it all at once, you are being judged.
Well, yeah, I mean, the three of us are all different, right? I mean, Eva, you had a huge career as a C-suite, in the corporate world, and also had children. I was a stay-at-home mom, and now I'm crushing it as a podcaster. And Flavia is married, has a career, and chose not to have kids. And I think between the three of us, there is judgment will be from somebody. And I think, as a woman, right? I've always felt like if you're single, but you have a great career as a woman, there's something wrong with you. If you're married, great career, but you didn't have kids, something wrong with you. If you are married.
Did you just say that's how you feel?
No, I'm sorry. That's how I feel society views it that way.
Yeah. Well, you're judged one way or another.
Right? If you're married with kids and you have an insane career outside the home, you're judged as a bad mom. If you don't have a career outside of the home and you're quote unquote just a mom, you're not successful. I think
that's exactly what I'm saying.
I know. I'm giving concrete examples how all three of us are different.
Yeah.
And I think we'd all three be judged by somebody.
Correct. But I think the only person that really matters is yourself in terms of how you feel and like how you look in the mirror. We are sometimes our harshest critic as a woman who aspires to have a meaningful career, who wants to have a family and a happy marriage. Like it is just incredibly difficult to achieve that. Or as a woman who aspires to have a career and to have a marriage and maybe does not have a burning desire to have children, even if you are content with that, it's hard to keep out the noise from everyone around you.
I've been harshly judged. You feel it,
Judged by who, you think?
by other women who ask, like, "Oh, and how old are your children?" And I said, "I don't have children." And they look at me like as if I'm about to go burn like a school for like I'm some sort of a danger,
Right.
And,
Like you're a pariah.
and I'm like, you know what? Not every uterus needs to have a resume. Like,
Ooh.
Ooh.
I love that. And sometimes the uterus
but
just
I
doesn't
think
need to have any, it could be vacant.
No, you know what? I think live and let live. Like whether you're raising a child or raising a martini glass, like just
Can I do
live
both, but
yeah,
tequila?
live your life. Like who cares? Not everyone in life is handed the same script, and that's okay. But that's why I think no matter what, life is not predictable. But it is so important, in my opinion, to go in knowing what you want. And you know what? Maybe you don't want kids, but then it happens. Like, great. And you roll with the punches. Like,
So you're saying, like, Flavia, so I want to understand. So for our audience to listen, it's like there's a balance of planning and letting life happen.
yes,
So you have
absolutely.
to, so you have to be clear in what you want. Because I
Yes.
disagree with you, Eva. I don't think people are just meandering. I think I think
I
people
think
might
those
be,
who
but
are
you can't.
meandering they
Lost.
need to figure things out.
Yeah, I don't
quickly.
think that's a way to go through
Yeah.
life. Like you have one chance. It ain't a dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
So like you need to be clear because especially as women, we do have expiration dates on certain things.
Yes, we do.
So
And that's the reality.
right. And like I'm so sick. The whole women being like, you can have your career and wait and have babies at 45. No, bitch, you can't do that.
You can, but it just doesn't. You know what? Hard is not impossible.
Right. But it's
Everything does get harder after a certain
same.
time.
And by the way,
Yeah.
having kids and stepping away from careers and then trying to have a career, that career is going to be harder than it would be if you were younger. I mean,
Absolutely.
everything in life is a trade-off.
Yeah.
Unless you want to be a trad wife.
Well, no,
I'm just kidding. I was trying to say trade.
A trade
In my head, it rhymed, but it didn't work out. Like, because it spells like it rhymes, but when it came out, it didn't rhyme. So it's like,
I'm actually now observing that maybe we are the problem because we've been circling
definitely
around like
a problem.
we've been circling around. Can women have it all? What's all? We have to have trade-offs, this, that, and the other. But like, and if we were three men sitting here, like I
they'd be
just
thinking about if they have to fart or answer an email. They're not thinking about this.
No, but in reality, you've got, all of these amazing women writing books about the predicament of women and how to, achieve and fulfill your dreams amid the stress and the pressure and the expectations, etc. But then, men don't have that problem. They just like exist, right? I don't want to simplify it, but I do feel
So my husband
like
would be like, it's really hard to provide for you because you're expensive. And I'd be like, you are right. I would not know how to do that. Right now, I have not figured out how to pay for my lifestyle. So he is right. That is a lot of
But
pressure for him.
I think there's certainly amongst men a lot less judgment. Women judge. We just do.
We're bitchy.
We are. Like no guy is going around and be like, bro, like you don't have kids yet. Like
He'd
what I
be
mean?
like, awesome, man. Keep it that way. Keep your dick away from any fertile women. You know?
okay. So bringing
Wait,
it
can I just say one thing?
Yes.
I do feel like the reason women are judgy has to be this biological sense of like, okay, men would be hunting and hunting and going. So you and all the women
Mhm.
would be like in the tent, cooking, clean, doing whatever you needed to do. And like the men are kind of off. And sort of, I feel like you're all judging each other because you don't want when like the men come back, like, well, they want to put their seed in another woman kind of thing. So I think there is this sort of, I think it's a biological thing. Men have one thing: go get the meat, bring home the bacon. We'll we'll make the skin, we'll make the coats out of the pig, we'll do jewelry making, we'll have the children, but that's a one
right.
track.
So like from the get-go, we've been cursed with like the
Homemakers.
multitasking ability.
Right, but like, why can't we turn
are
into a
better at
positive?
we are better at multitasking.
No, I don't mean it as a negative, but I mean like that's partly why women are trying to juggle and have it all today because that's in our DNA.
You just figure that out?
Whereas men are more single focused, compartmentalized.
Yeah. Welcome to men versus women. That's why men are from Mars and women are from Venus.
From Venus.
Should be men from Venus because like penis.
Planet penis.
Like, right? Doesn't make sense.
Except the goddess Venus.
Yes,
or men should be from your
Venus
Uranus.
is Aphrodite.
Men should be from Uranus.
Okay, but honestly, let's
planet asshole. Fucking planet asshole never knows what I want.
Okay, so just why don't we
bring us back to Earth, Eva?
Why don't we lay the groundwork for those who may not be as familiar with this debate? Because the OG debate was Sheryl Sandberg coming out with women can lean in, make your partner, and that women can have a seat at the table and not be kind of relegated to the homemaker while their husband is the career person. And then you had Mary Ann Slaughter, who said, actually, that's a big fat myth and stop making women feel so bad. Women can't have it all. And that it's not women's fault we can't have it all.
I agree with Mary Ann Slaughter. I'm sorry.
Right. The system was just not built for it because women have biological clocks and they go on maternity leave and they have kids to care for. And actually, that reminds me, when I would work, I was struck how often a man would say,
I couldn't do it without my wife.
I could not do it without my wife. And I would always joke, like, I need a wife too. Like, that's not fair.
But like, sorry, like that's your choice, man.
I do think that having a family is one of the most meaningful things to, I think it's very important. And I know I sound like a hypocrite saying that because
you still have a family just because you don't have kids.
But I don't have kids. But
you want to adopt one of mine?
But see, it's very important for people to have families, even though I didn't start one of my own. I admire it so much. And I think that there should be more support for that. And I just generally disagree with this idea of this or that. Like, everyone is handed a different set of cards and you have to play with them the best that you can. You know, I mean, I look at my mother, for example. She had a very busy career. I mean, her dream was to be basically like a trad wife. I mean, she wanted to be a homemaker and she adored being a mom. But then she got divorced. She had to start a career out of the blue. She didn't expect that she would become this career woman. She had a very busy, thriving career. And the result was she wasn't able to be there physically around us all the time. And I know that really hurt her, but she made the most that out of the situation. She always wrote us letters. She always called when she was traveling for work. She was very
She made
present.
you feel loved.
Always. We never really felt like her absence.
But I guess that's what I was trying to say earlier about, and maybe I phrased it wrong, but this notion that you may have goals, but you don't always get them. So I, similar to your mom, wanted to be a trad wife.
Should we define trad wife?
I was thinking we need to define trad wife. So a trad wife is, I looked this up so we could talk about it.
It's a traditional wife.
It's a traditional wife where she believes the man is the breadwinner. Her place is in the home, raising the family. There are clearly defined roles and responsibilities, and they're complementary. And she's responsible for managing the household, raising the children, and this.
I'm a trad wife.
I am too. And so I guess what I was trying to say now that we've defined it is, like your mom, Flavia, I sort of fell into my career, but I was good at it and I loved it. And obviously I needed that sense of.
I love that you fell into being like a huge, powerful marketing C-suite executive and went to HBS, Harvard Business School. But let's keep going.
But I guess and you also don't do these things in a vacuum. Like you don't have kids in a vacuum. You have to have a partner usually. And so, your husband may not be ready for kids. You may not find the right partner. So I do think it's a bit idealistic or simplistic to be like, well, you have to make a decision. And if you want kids, you've got to do that first. Sometimes life just doesn't roll that way.
I don't know. But
I think it's important to have a clear idea because that's your roadmap. Obviously, things never go as planned, but you know where you want to go and that informs your steps.
You know what's interesting? I kind of had this as I and I think because we're both Capricorns,
Yeah.
Flavia and I, we're these old souls who kind of like, as we age, we sort of get younger, more spiritual. I could speak for myself, but I don't know if that's for you.
Yes, it's true.
And I kind of feel like there always is a plan, you know, like I think it might not be our plan and we might not think it's supposed to happen, but I think when you're on the right path, everything starts to happen the way it should. You know, it's not sort of that thing where you think about something or you think about that person and then you meet them or you see them. But I do think you have to be clear with your intentions about that. And I just, you can't wander through life and being like, well, it didn't happen for me. It's like, well, you didn't make it happen. You know, like when I prioritized, I knew I wanted to have kids first because I just knew that like I wanted to get that over with, not like check it off the list, but like I didn't know if it would take me a while. I saw people around me who were older who struggled with fertility. I also didn't know what the fuck I wanted to do with my life. So it was, you know, I knew I wanted to do this first. My husband wasn't ready when I met him. It's like, we're fucking doing this. But he told me, he's like, I'm going to be traveling more because he was building his business. Like there's pros and cons to doing it early. So it's like, you have to like, you know, it's your life
like,
too.
I know that if I really wanted children, then I would have them.
Yeah, we're Capricorns. We don't give up.
Exactly. But for me, that's not what my personal life is about. Like,
did losing your mom like help affect that?
I think so. Yeah. I think so. Absolutely.
Yeah. In what way?
Well, you know,
how old were you when your mom passed away?
I was 25. I mean, it's traumatic to lose your mom, especially if you're very close to her. And I see, for example, I have close friends and family members who have children and they have a huge support system with their mother. And it makes sense. Like if you don't have that, it almost discourages you. Even though I also know people who are raising children and they don't have their mom, but it's not as easy for them. And it kind of, you know, it's not that I'm not someone who's influenced by what other people do anyway. I mean, I make up my mind. I do what I want. And
Capricorn.
But I do think, I mean, I'm speaking for myself, but I'm sure it's true for a lot of women who lost their mothers early that it must have influenced their decision regarding motherhood. Like either it might have made them want a child even more or the opposite.
I'm going to play psychiatrist here. I feel like for you, it was so hard losing a mom. You didn't want to do that to a child. Like,
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe subconsciously without realizing it.
I mean, right. Like you went through so much pain. Like you don't want to ever do that to somebody.
Yeah. It's possible.
Look at me. I'm Freud over here.
You also married somebody who has children. So I wonder if like, do you play a stepmom role and has that fulfilled you in a way?
I think it's better not to talk
the evil stepmother. I'm just kidding.
You know, it's so unfair.
I agree. That's another stigma we talk about.
The evil stepmother. I mean,
Cinderella bitch did that.
It's not always the case. I mean, and I grew up with. I had a stepmother.
Was she nice?
She was lovely.
Okay.
She was. I mean, they're no longer married, but I was really sad about that. Actually, I really liked my stepmother, and I adore my stepfather. So, you know, step parents.
My mom's a stepmom, and she loves my brother.
I see step parents as it's someone who is stepping in and stepping up to the task. It's
a very hard role.
It's a very hard role. You are so unappreciated. You're unfairly treated, and especially if you know
it only works if there's kind of a widow. I mean, in a way.
I mean, look,
not to be depressing, but.
When my dad first started, now we're going off on a tangent.
Oh, what else does new?
When my dad was dating after my parents divorced, and obviously like some of the girlfriends, I didn't like them and I would complain about them to my mom. And she'd say, you know what? I don't want to hear it. It's his life. He's an adult. He does what he wants.
I would have made those bitches suffer.
No, my mom was like, mind your own business. Be nice to them. If they ever lay a finger on you, then you can complain to me. Otherwise, just let it be. It's not your business.
Ooh.
And that was so wise of her. Unfortunately, I think most women who are divorced They will indulge it, yeah, and it creates a lot of problems. And I've dealt with that.
Your mom
and
sounds amazing, though.
yeah, she was
It's
an
the worst
amazing
thing you
woman.
can do. They say even if you're married, like the worst thing you can do is talk about your spouse to your children. And so imagine if you're divorced, you have all these complicated feelings, whether you were left or whether
Yeah,
you didn't choose it. And I think that as a child, like even with married parents, there's sort of the competition for their attention.
yeah.
And so all of a sudden you have somebody else competing for your parents'
Yeah.
attention, and maybe you judge which parent is at fault for the breakup of the family. So I get all those complicated
You know what this
feelings.
makes me think of Mrs. Doubtfire? Because, like, you know, she got divorced and, like, it was actually kind of amazing when you think about the concept. The husband was, like, totally like a big child and he was the caretaker. She was the big breadwinner who, like, had a huge career,
It's true.
right? He watched the kids and she got full custody and got, like, he, like, never saw them. So what did he do? He went to his brother, got custody, and he's, "You for deny Doubtfire, dear." And he dressed up and he took care of them.
That was
Oh,
genius.
what a
Such an
nice
amazing
boy.
movie.
It is such a good movie. Remind me, why did she divorce him?
Because he was like this he was
was
a
like
freelancer. He was a
He
cartoon
was a
voice.
voiceover, right?
He wasn't serious enough for her, and he wasn't like
And he wasn't reliable, right? She didn't see him
Yes.
as reliable.
Because she was the breadwinner and the caretaker, and like
She was overwhelmed.
he-
She was overwhelmed. and
He was
didn't-
fun. He was always the good guy.
Yeah.
Don't you remember that? And like the party, the
Yeah.
She
first
didn't
scene.
have support from him.
Well, it was like he was never in. He
He was
wasn't
like a kid.
right. He wasn't enforcing rules. And this, like the first scene of the movie is like, you know, she decides it's going to be like a simple party, and like he gets a whole animal farm, and there's the kids jumping up, and it's like,
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'm
I forgot
actually-
about
right?
that
And she
scene.
brings home a cake, and the goat that he has eats
Yes.
the whole
Oh,
soccer cake.
I forgot
But
about
I'm
that.
laughing because, like, would anybody be married if that was the bar for getting divorced? Like that the husband doesn't
No,
listen to your rules.
And then, but what's amazing is he steps into like the most incredible wife. But this is interesting. He couldn't do it as a man, but dressed as a woman, he was able to be that.
That's true.
Right?
That's
Think about that. He didn't change as a person, but he fucking dressed like a woman. He put pantyhose on.
Caroline, you need to do a psychoanalysis of Mrs. Doubtfire.
It's a very interesting.
That is
You
interesting.
vagina Doubtfire, Joe.
But it was also in some ways
Ooh.
you don't know what you have till you lose it, and that's when he got his act together. And the only way to get a second chance was to be somebody else.
You're
'cause
always
his wife
bursting my
wasn't gonna give
philosophical
him a
bubble.
second chance. Wait, but
She never
that-
gave him a second chance,
I
actually.
had another connection that I think brings us back to this episode. So the point of this episode is to talk about, can women have it all? We would argue that no matter what a woman chooses, she is judged and it's not the right path and it's never enough. And you're talking about Miss Doubtfire, and being a breadwinner and all of that was like perceived as, you know, the goal. And that's why women were trying to have it all. And now you've got this complete backlash with the trad wife where she's almost like Martha Stewart.
But
you
she's
know,
like actually more
she-
in the dirt. She's
she's-
churning that butter.
You are such an interrupter. She's like
I know.
Martha Stewart, you know, amplified, saying, actually, we're going to glorify being a stay-at-home housewife, a do-it-yourself. And so it's really interesting because I think that living in Manhattan and looking at women in Manhattan, like there is no kind of interest in like do-it-yourself.
See, I feel like Martha Stewart, at least maybe I don't know enough. I don't feel like she glorified, like I think of like Ballerina Farm, right? This like girl in Utah who's like literally making food and has like taking care of her kids, and she seems to be doing it all. I mean, not my life, that I don't want that, but Martha Stewart was more of like, let's make the table beautiful. Like it could have been for anybody. I didn't feel like it was like a housewife.
Oh, interesting. Like she was more about
Like
keeping up the appearance and
Yeah, or
like
someone who
making
wanted to
up
garden.
home.
The appearance. I think Martha Stewart just really, she understood what the real meaning of homemaking.
Right.
That one has to make their home. That means from cooking to cleaning,
Right.
sewing, fixing things,
Flower arrangements to like
just
holiday
making-
shopping.
And that's what she meant by living, because you live in your home and making the best and the most of the space and the time that you have. Even for like do it yourself, like cleaning solutions and things like that for how to clean a carpet. I don't know, something like that. She has answers to every question. And I don't think people watch her show or read her books like wanting to like do everything like her. It's just
It's like a specific thing.
It's almost like you go to a dictionary to find
That's
the
exactly.
definition of a word. Like you have an issue you want to deal with around your home or a recipe or something. You just go to Martha and she's got an answer for you. Like,
whereas a trad wife is saying,
His ballerina
this
farm.
new, busy, chaotic world of technology and multitasking
And
there's
tons of
something
children.
wrong with that. So I want to go back to a traditional model where my husband works and I compliment him by being at home,
Right.
tending to the children in the house, but doing it in a way that's more like connected to
Well,
the
it's also
earth.
just, I think it's more gender roles, specified, and it's also the mom working at home.
But
Like,
also-
Martha Stewart wasn't working at home.
But also
But
notice that
her
Martha,
in the beginning,
her target audience clearly
but-
was women
but
working at
trad
home.
wives are now the influencers. Do
but
you know what I'm
notice
saying?
how Martha never had children around on set.
Yeah.
Like it was
not a kid place.
But
It was like
whereas the trad wife, there's always like lots of toddlers running around. One of them is
a
kneading
boob out,
the bread
breastfeeding, and the husband and the marriage. She never talked about marriage. It was not really about her personal life.
And
Yes.
now trad wives, I think you're right. Thank you. Is very different. Women should no longer be trying to compete and say, I can have it all and I can do whatever a man can do, but actually like embracing the traditional model of I'm going to have kids barefoot in the kitchen. And also
They also were the
leaving-
CFO, by the way, which I did not realize. Traditional wives like would get the paycheck from their husband, and like they were in charge of it. So it's like you have to cook and pay bills. It's a lot.
Right. I actually, it's funny. I don't pay any bills and I don't know where anything is. And honestly, God forbid something happens to my husband. I hope he leaves like a 50-page manual on how to run our life. But
Which
having
you won't be
said
able to
that,
find.
I always assume just based on like our parents' generation and our generation, the majority of time it's the woman who pays the bills.
I never thought
Really? I didn't.
Oh,
that. Yeah,
interesting.
No. I was like, what?
We should look into that because
Dude, I don't know how to pay the electric bill.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I think that is more a woman's task.
It was like my grandma, who's 92, still does like all of her own. Like she was
Oh,
always
so
the bill keeper.
I
That's
feel
what
like
I'm
my
saying.
that's
mom
the
never
task
did
of-
that.
I feel like that's the task of a mob wife. Like,
Yeah.
she's
Tony,
the-
how much did you bring in
like,
this week?
The mob wife knows, like, is the one like.
Yeah, she's
keeping
got all the cash,
books,
like in
the
her
book.
apron,
Yeah,
the
she
big
hides-
boobs, like pulling
she's
it out.
hiding the cash, and she
Yeah.
knows where all the
Anthony,
bodies
go
are
get me
buried.
a chicken.
But actually, that wasn't the mob wife. That was like the mob boss who happened to be the wife, because the mob wives were the ones who like kind of played dumb, because when the cops came and the FBI came,
I don't know nothing.
But wait, go back to trad wives. So I have a question for both of you, because you know Ballerina Farm and all of these different influencers. Why do you think it's such a huge thing right now?
You mean why people? I think people are like, but it's a voyeurism thing. They're like, how the fuck is this woman breastfeeding her 9th baby? She looks attractive. Or
Her skin is glowing. Her like
She's-
everything.
she's
is,
rolling
She's wearing
dough.
like the perfect linen dress.
milking cows, and I'm like, what the fuck?
But you don't think it's a statement that like our lives have become too like ephemeral and disconnected, and like going back
She's
to the
also making
roots?
money off of like everybody being addicted to Instagram, so it's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so she's like trying to get back to the roots, but she's like, everybody else is
But
dumb,
you
so I'm
know
gonna make money
what?
off it.
All these things that are coming up now as trends, they've always existed though. It's just that now we live in this very digital world, so everything has to be categorized so that it can be monetized. But we've always had trad wives. We've always had women who were more career oriented. We've also had artists. I consider myself an artist.
You're definitely an artist.
Which is a different kind. Because when I think career woman, I think of someone who's like, it's.
You think of,
I don't wanna-
Eva,
Yeah,
like
no,
before Sheryl Sandberg.
no. Although I don't want to say that being an artist is different, because an artist is a career, but usually the general idea of career, you think of someone going into the office and
You see them with a ladder to climb.
Yeah, exactly. It's within a very corporate.
Mhm.
You're part of the corporate culture. My family was not thrilled about like me
The artiste.
having an artistic career. Like at one point, I was working in fashion, and everyone was very happy because that's security. And I was in the corporate world. And I don't think I think even within like career choices, there's judgment, and it's either way, it's not easy. Nothing in life is easy. And all of these things,
No pain, no gain.
all of these things have always existed. And even before the word career existed, women had roles in society. They've always had work to do, um, whether it and they've always, everything in life is a juggling act.
Right. But I would argue, like, historically, if you look at themes, women didn't have the same rights and presence in the workforce. And then you sort of had an opening up of that, like the bra burning
Well,
women.
Rosie the Riveter was a little bit, they paved a little bit of the
Right.
way.
So the
I
women
don't
who
like
said,
her.
like, the
kind
bra
of-
burning women who said we need to, like, break the
Right.
glass ceiling. We need to earn our place. We can do anything a man can do. And then you sort of had our next generation, which is like my generation, that was like, okay, well, we're defining we can do anything we want to do as choice, not like we have to do what the men do. But if we
Right.
choose to stay home and raise our kids, that's just as good because we're choosing it. And a lot of the women ahead of us were kind of like, we did all this work for you and you're not like jumping to take it. And then you sort of had this myth that like women can't have it all. You can't choose. You can't do everything. And now I feel like the trad wife is actually culturally like, we want to go back to a simpler time. And I will say that resonates for me a lot because my lifestyle, like I keep wanting to like pare back, take things away because we live in this world where like everything is on 24/7.
Yes,
Yeah.
overstimulated world.
100%. And it's so consumer driven. And I agree. Like, so Flavia and I are the same age. And I think we saw women in their 50s who didn't seem that happy, having to balance it all, quote unquote. Like, I didn't aspire to that, and I think that's where I think my generation, people born in the late 80s started to figure out, okay, well, but we also were the first generation that didn't have to choose because technology was starting where we could be entrepreneurial at home. We could be influencers. Like you weren't, when my mom was raising me in the 90s, like she had to choose either I'm going to work in a corporate environment or maybe there was some freelance artist stuff, or I'm taking care of my kids. She was trying to be entrepreneurial with stuff, but there was no balance. I mean, there was no like middle ground. Now
Yes.
it's very different, I think. And we're lucky. I'm in a lucky parenting generation in some respects.
I think it was a lot easier for our parents' generation to raise kids. And I think in a way they almost did have it all. It was a different world. It was
True.
a simpler time. The technological era has complicated things and it has moved everything at a crazy speed.
That's true.
Or maybe the grass is always greener in the sense that like I have sort of a fantasy about the trad wife thing in that
Me
wouldn't it be
too.
nice to have a husband?
I want a trad wife.
Wouldn't it be nice to have a husband who like he stayed in his lane and that's all he did and you were home with like 9 babies and you had a really simple
What?
life
Not
and you
9
didn't
babies,
have
no,
technology.
not a
cat.
Oh, I would like that.
9 babies? Vagina would be like a fucking hallway. 9 babies. 9 babies? Are you insane?
Oh,
What are you, a
no,
golden
no.
retriever?
I don't
No.
know. When I was working, I would always say to people, like, I would be just as happy staying home with my kids. Because I do think the grass is always greener.
But you
in
didn't
that.
realize how hard it was at home too.
Right. But I loved maternity leave. But you're
But
right.
that's
that was
different. Like
temporary.
when they're, I always had help to balance it, but like it was hard. I would schlepping the classes, the meltdowns, the temper tantrums. And then your husband comes home and he's like so exciting. You're sort of become like, you're like Wi-Fi and, no one notices you until you turn it off.
Yes.
And that's hard. And you don't know what your identity is. It becomes kind of like kerfuffled with motherhood. And like, especially in New York, it's like very judgy where, you're like, oh, right now I'm just being a mom. And it's like fucking hard being a mom. I should have said it more
Yes.
confidently.
Yes.
Like I am mothering this generation. I am creating human beings who are either going to be, contributors to society or fucking horrible.
Well,
That's a big job.
This is the judgment.
It's a very big job.
But that was my own judgment, I think, in my head. I don't know if other people were
Look,
judging
I
me.
often find myself like when I'm working, I think to myself, my God, how did my mom do it? Like I often think to myself, like, how would I be managed? But then when you have what you want, like let's say you have kids and you have a career and those are 2 things that you wanted and that matter to you, you make it work because you love being a mother and you love your job. And you're figuring, I think all of us, no matter what, with kids, without kids, with a career, without a career, everyone is figuring it out.
This is our first rodeo, is how we started.
We're
Like
all figuring things out in real
Right.
time. And we all have one life. And the key is no matter what your stance, what it is that you're doing, what it is that you're choosing, um, are you, the point is, are you making the most of this life? What matters to you? Are you fulfilling your
Yes.
desires? And are you living your life? And living life is not just laying back under some palm tree on a
Well,
beach.
it's also not your
It's-
resume either,
No,
right?
it's not your resume. It's, are you good to people? Are you good to yourself? Like, is the world slightly a better place because you're in it? Like,
Yeah.
I think, and also, or are you, I don't know, maybe you're writing something brilliant that's influencing people, or maybe you're planting a beautiful garden and it makes people happy. Whatever it is, anything. I think as long as you're doing something that is meaningful to you, you're living your life.
Right. And I think I concur with everything you're saying. And I think those moments are found in the small aspects of life, like the little, whatever it is, doing something. And it's not just the next step, because you don't want a life where you're constantly just looking for the next. You want to be kind of happy where you are. And I think,
in the now.
You
That's
have
a
to
great
live
quote.
your own life according to your own set of values, and you have
Yeah.
to be clear on your values, and you have to make the most of the cards you're dealt.
Yeah.
And the
You also-
reality is nothing's permanent. So life is constantly bringing
it ebbs and
change
flows.
Yes.
and things in your control, things outside your control. But all you can control is how you respond and how you move through life.
Well, I think
Yeah.
it's the Buddha has a quote, like, to bend like the willow. I've never been
Ooh.
able to bend like the willow. I'm always like rigid as hell.
But I've seen you in Tracy.
But that's true. I am
About to
flexible. One thing that I was thinking, the reason I think people are also pulled towards that traditional, farming and being in nature is because it is so hard in this overstimulated, complicated world to listen to your intuition, to listen to your heart and say, does this feel good? Am I doing something for someone else?
Yeah.
You can't. You're like in this hamster wheel, and I think that is the pull to something, to nature, to slowing down. I think we all just want to slow down.
Yes.
Because
I agree.
right? Because like when you get to the,
We have to slow down.
what are we
Otherwise,
working for,
we're
right?
going to spin out of control.
But also then you have what you think you wanted and you're like, I'm not happy. And then all of that was just a waste.
But but I will say, and this is why there's no judgment allowed for anyone's path.
Okay, but I am judgmental a little bit.
But there are people who
Yeah, of
have
course.
energy to have children, have a job, have many extracurriculars, and they can still dedicate more time to their kids than somebody else who doesn't have a job but just has a different tank and is built differently.
That's true.
So you can never
or
compare
has
to
cocaine.
you can never compare to other people.
I think just this is the moral of the story is stay in your lane, be less judgmental of yourself.
And don't compare yourself with others.
Treat yourself with compassion.
The
There's
internet
no
is
right-
bullshit.
There's no
except
right
us.
or wrong answer.
We're all here for a reason, and everyone's got their destiny.
And just try to be a good person and make somebody laugh. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
laughter is the best medicine.
it really
It
is.
really is.
So, Flavia, thank you so much
Thank you so much for
for
having
being
me.
here. It was like a modern
I-
philosophical.
I love these sessions. I hope to be on another time.
Wasn't
too.
it cathartic? It's like cathartic. I'm so sorry, Eva, for being
No.
an interrupting chicken.
Oh my God!
I love
You saved me from.
No, but sometimes I interrupt.
I
some
love
good
your
stuff.
show. I love listening to you. And when I'm in Italy, I listen when I'm feeling homesick because it brings me back into the New York culture.
I'm
I
so
love
glad.
it. I
Well,
love
Italy sounds fabulous. So you need a podcast so I can think about pasta and Venezia and Leonardo, like some sexy Italian man, instead of these men with like man buns and Palestinian pins here.
Yeah, not
Really,
Leonardo
no.
DiCaprio.
I need more to stop. No.
Da
like,
Vinci.
no.
But you don't go for Mark
Oh,
Ruffalo?
wait, before we go, you got to tell the story because you speak like 3 languages. You're so brilliant. The way you impersonate it. It's just like, can you tell your story with the word? You know what I'm talking about? Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
We're going to leave you with one last gem of a laugh.
When I was working in Boston at a luxury women's boutique, there was a woman who came in and she was asking for recommendations, and then she said, well, I'll just ask the concierge. And I didn't understand what she meant. And then the manager of the store looked at me and he was like, she means concierge.
I'm dead. It sounds like a vaginal disease, right? Like a coochie, itchy coochie concierge. All right, we're going to mic drop before
On
we say
that
something
note,
bad.
Mic
Mic
drop.
drop. Ciao.